We can't just think that we get organized and we're done, and we never have to think about that again. We need to do what we call... You are listening to the Decluttering Club podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mueller, and it's my mission to equip women to declutter their homes, their time, and their lives so that they can cherish what truly matters. You are listening to the Decluttering Club podcast number 7. Top organizing mistakes that lead to clutter. Don't make these mistakes, you guys. These are simple mistakes to avoid. I'm going to tell you what they are. I'm going to tell you how to avoid them. And I'm going to invite you to a completely free challenge that we have coming up very soon. Okay. So before we get into the mistakes and the tips, the information I have to share with you, I want to let you know that I don't really do hacks. I don't do tips. You're never going to find me sharing use this little hack to organize your linen closet. I don't do that kind of thing. I'm not going to show you how to fold a fitted sheet. I mean, maybe I am, but probably not. That is not where I want to put my focus for you. And why is that? Well, because you can find that stuff all day long on the internet. Tips and tricks and hacks, there's nothing wrong with them, but they're already out there. They're available. And when you learn a particular hack or a tip or a little trick, it's hard to apply that to other places in your life. So it's kind of like a dead end, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with hacks and tips and tricks, but I want to give you principles. I want to give you bigger ideas that you can apply over and over and over again. Right? It's a little bit like if I were to teach you how to read one sentence, right? Maybe it's like, the cat was sleeping. I could teach you how to read that sentence, and then you could always read that sentence when it came up. Or I could just teach you how to read. And then you could read any sentence. You could read any words. Now, is it going to take longer? Yeah, it is. Learning how to read is going to take longer than learning how to recognize, 4 or 5 words. But it's going to serve you a gazillion times over. And so that's why we focus here at the Decluttering Club. We focus mainly on principles and ideas, as opposed to, little one-off things that you can use, which might be super fun and super effective, but they're not going to take you very far, okay? So principle focus, that is what we do here. Okay, so top organizing mistakes that lead to clutter. Now, why do we want to get organized? You may think, oh, I really would love to get organized. It sounds really good, doesn't it? Well, here is what I think the reason is to getting organized. When you are not organized, and whether it's with your life, with your home, with your possessions, maybe it's your time, maybe it's your money, when you are not organized, you feel very much out of control. You will feel that life is happening to you. Life gets really hard when you're not organized. You're not going to be able to find things. You're always going to feel like you're kind of behind the 8 ball. You're not going to know where you're supposed to be. You're not going to know where to put things. Things are going to be messy, right? And so I really think being organized, I think it's actually highly underrated. I think it is so important. I kind of feel like a certain level of organization is the key to having a peaceful life that allows you to do whatever you want to do, right? When you are organized with the basics, with your home, with your time, with your money, then life is easier and everything opens up. And then you have time and energy for the things that you really care about. So we're not organized just so we can say that we're organized. I'm not saying that you should get organized so that you can open your pantry and take a look and just ooh and ah. Now that's super fun, but that is not why we are doing this. We are doing this so that you have time and space in your home and really inside of your head for things that you really want to do. It's like once we get organized, and then we can think about other things, more important things. This is like the basics. And so that's why it's super important, I believe, to get organized. Okay, so top organizing mistakes that lead to clutter. The first one I see is that people go out and they buy stuff. they go buy some fun things. I used to do this back before I started decluttering, right? I think, okay, the answer to my problem here is a nice bookshelf and maybe some pretty bins to go along with it that match. Then I will be organized. If I just go buy this, if I just go bring this thing home, these items home, it will magically solve my problems. Well, you know how this turns out, don't you? It doesn't solve any problems. And you can have the prettiest organization in the world, but if what you put into it isn't organized, then maybe you're just like hiding your clutter. Maybe you're just covering it up. Maybe you're even making things worse because you're dumping all kinds of things into these bins or storage containers. Okay, so don't go buy stuff. In fact, I highly recommend that you don't buy anything until you learn the simple organizing principles that I have to share with you. Don't buy a thing. Don't spend any money. Learn how to get organized first. It's very simple. And then you can go and buy some things if you want to. Okay. Second mistake. The second mistake is not decluttering first. Why would you organize something that you really don't want to keep? You could probably eliminate a significant portion of the things that you're trying to organize, right? You could just get rid of them. And now you have more space left for the things that you are keeping. You have more time, and you don't have to figure out where to put them. So often, I find that people can't decide where to put something. I think, I don't really know. This is just like some stuff here. I don't know where to put it. And when I hear that, that tells me that maybe these things shouldn't really be kept. Maybe those are things that you really don't need to keep. Maybe you'd be better off, or maybe you would prefer to actually let them go if you actually stop and think about it. So don't try to organize a space or, a set of items without asking yourself, do I really need these things? Maybe they can just go. If they can go, save myself a whole lot of trouble. Okay. The third mistake is postponing decisions until later. Has this ever happened to you? You think, I'm going to go through, and this is a little bit related to mistake number 2, but it's not quite the same thing. So you think, okay, I'm going to go through these things, but not right now. It's not a good time. I really don't feel like it. It's going to take too much energy, so I'm just going to put them all in this box here and worry about it later. The famous later. And as you and I both know, later frequently turns into never. We don't want to do that. If I need to make some decisions here, just make them right now. Just require yourself to do the hard work of saying, do I want to keep this or not? And if the answer is yes, then I'm all in. Then let's keep that item. But just make sure that you are all in on that item, on those things. And if the answer is no, then just get rid of them now. Right? It's going to be hard now or later. But if you move that decision up and you handle that today and you decide it's a declutter, it's let's get rid of this item, now you can get through that. You can kind of get over the hump and you can move on. Whereas if you postpone that decision until later, those laters pile up and they become like this huge mountain. And I'm telling you, you're not really postponing them until later. You're kind of carrying them around with you. And that's why your head may feel really full of all kinds of things that you're trying to remember. So don't put those decisions off until later. Sometimes people take this to the extreme. They think, I'm just going to put these things in storage, and then later I will get to them, right? And they may have the best of intentions. But once things are packed away, once they're in storage, whether it's in basement or in a storage unit, you and I both know it is so much harder to open those boxes again. It is so much harder. So don't do that to yourself, right? Do the work now, and I promise you, you will be so glad because then you can move forward. Okay? Next organizing mistake, trying to organize too much at once. Don't do this to yourself. Don't do it. This looks like people emptying their entire wardrobe onto their bed and thinking, I'm going to organize all my clothes. Don't do this. Bad idea for most people. Maybe there's the unicorn among us who can do this, but I do not recommend it. This is trying to reorganize the entire game cabinet of 300 games. take everything out and then try and put it back. A lot of people, this sends them to a spiral of overwhelm. This may look like, trying to organize the entire garage and just like literally emptying the garage onto the driveway. And now, oh my goodness, it's going to rain soon. And what are we going to do? And then you end up shoving it all back and feeling horrible. Okay, so don't do that. You want to pace yourself. You want to break it down into little tasks. Next mistake, trying to get organized without a plan or without a realistic plan. So this might look like doing too much at once, but it also could just look like, I think I'm gonna organize the linen closet. And you just kind of dig in and get started. But you haven't really thought through, what's my end result here? What do I want this space to look like? Do I want to buy some new storage solutions? Do I want to, add some extra things here? Maybe I actually need to add things. Maybe I need to replace some things. How much time do I want to spend on this? Is it 1 hour? Is it 10 hours? If you haven't asked yourself a few simple questions and you just dive in, then chances are you're probably not going to be happy with the results. So make a plan before you start organizing. Okay, and then the last mistake that I want to share with you is not doing maintenance on the things that you have organized. Our homes, our spaces, our time, perhaps, it doesn't stay the way we left it. It's like imagining that you can set down a baby, all right, let's say you're taking care of a baby. You think you can set down the baby and walk away and the baby's still going to be there, like 2 hours later. I don't think so, right? Your home does not stay the way you left it. And why is that? Well, it's because, you may have organized the pantry, but you probably also took things out of it and you probably went grocery shopping and you put some things into it. And then some people in your family left, some open boxes, and then there were crumbs and on and on, right? We can't just think that we get organized and we're done, and we never have to think about that again. We need to do what we call maintenance. And what maintenance means is we just attend to these spaces that we have organized. And it's going to look different for different spaces, but in general, it looks like just putting things back in order. It looks like maybe doing a little bit of cleaning. Maybe there's some drips in the fridge and you want to wipe them up. Maybe there's some things that you decided you're not going to eat and they're in the fridge. Well, they need to come out, right? They're not going to come out by themselves. Someone needs to go in and take a look and say, these things are not going to be eaten, and let's get rid of them, right? Maybe we need to replenish. Maybe we need to restock. But you cannot expect your spaces to stay the way that they were when you walked away and said, I'm done organizing this space. And it's not because your house explodes. It's not because life happens, right? When we say things like that, it's very passive language. And it kind of suggests that these things just happen without any involvement from you or from other people in your home, right? Life doesn't tend to happen. We tend to do things that mess up our spaces. And that is a normal thing. That's a good thing. That means we're living in our spaces. But I just really want to call your attention to the fact that sometimes people say things like, my house exploded. No, the house didn't explode, unless it did. But probably it didn't. Probably what happens is your kids, decided to empty the game cabinet. And they left everything all over the place. Okay, now we know what happened. And now it's so much easier to figure out what is the solution. Well, the solution is to have the kids put things back. Or the solution is to have you put things back. Or maybe the solution is to put a lock on the game cabinet if you don't want that happening again. Lots of options there, but we want to make sure that we are taking responsibility. Again, this goes back to principles, not hacks, right? When we have principles in place, and maintenance is a principle, then we know how to solve problems as opposed to feeling like life is just happening to us and we should just get used to living with a messy house. I don't want you to think you have to live with a messy house. That is not a foregone conclusion. Not everybody lives that way. And everyone who is interested has the capability of learning these skills, and I can teach you. You were not born with these skills. This is not something that is automatic to a lot of people, but it is something that can be taught. And that's what we do here. Okay, so now I've gone over the top organizing mistakes that do lead to clutter, and I want to make sure that you know we are running a challenge coming up very soon. It's starting on July 8th. It's called the Organize Like a Boss Challenge. It's totally free. You are invited to join us, right? There is a workbook to purchase if you like and some extra videos, but those are optional. You're invited to join us for the Organize Like a Boss Challenge. It's live training for 5 days with me. It's going to blow your mind. I'm going to teach you very specifically 5 organizing principles that you can use to organize any space in your home or business and pretty much any space in your life. And once you learn these principles, you're never going to forget them. You're going to love them. And you'll also be invited to participate with our community during this challenge week to get things done, to feel incredibly motivated, and to have a lot of fun. All right, so you can sign up for the Organize Like a Boss Challenge. We call it OLAB for short, OLAB, Organize Like a Boss. You can sign up at organizelikeaboss.com. That is the link to sign up for the challenge. Come and join us, and I will teach you how to get organized. I hope you can make it. Hope to see you soon, and be aware of these organizing mistakes. Now you know. All right, take care, everyone. I'll see you next time. That's all we have for you today. If you enjoyed this podcast, would you leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts? It would really help us get the word out. To start your decluttering journey, go to thedeclutteringclub.com/start. That's declutteringclub.com/start.